You are now tuning in to the Going North podcast with your host, best-selling author, and professional speaker, and member of the John Maxwell team, Dominic Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, we're going to hear the voice of a different author sharing their gifts, stories, and expertise to help you charge forward in life. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Going North podcast, we're bringing some fabulous humans from across the globe. Today's no different. My goodness, another fabulous human in the building, baby, another overcomer. Not only an overcomer, a mother, a wife, a business owner, and a lifelong Texan. So yeehaw. That's right. The Texans are probably going to hate me for that one. Yes, indeed, especially the 2020 Texans. But it's all good, though. It's all good though, because this wonderful lady right here, she enjoys spending time with her family as well as spending time in remote Alaska. Go figure. So hot and cold. So we got a hot ice author in the building because she loves spending time in the outdoors, hiking and fishing. And she's also a self-professed foodie who enjoys cooking with her family and hosting dinner parties for friends. So let's give it up for the fabulous A.H. herself, the wonderful Amy Herrig. How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. We'll go with good with we'll call it 7 O's. Seven's usually lucky. It's
Lucky seven. I like
yeah.
threes too.
Okay. There we go. No wonder I had you on this podcast. All right, good. Yes, indeed. So your PR agent made it through the magical gate known as the spam filter. And now we're now connected. So now the Chinese finger trap is here. So how's it feel?
It feels. I'm honored.
Oh, good, good. So that means I'm pretty sure you got a tiara lying around somewhere in your home.
Depends who you ask. What day?
And I'm guessing that's before or after coffee, right?
Right. Tea. I'm a tea drinker. So
So Texas tea, huh?
Texas. There you go. Texas. Not to be confused with the Long Island tea.
Oh yeah, yeah. I hear the island stays on the long side of the game, longer than all the wiener dogs. Yeah, but this ain't about weird dogs. It's about the amazing Amy. So mind filling in any cavities I may have missed about the amazing Amy herself, because I'm pretty sure I missed probably 7 days worth of stuff.
Yeah, I think like most people, I'm a multifaceted person with a lot going on. I am a mother and a wife and a business owner and all the things you said. And I'm an author who decided to share my story with the world because I felt that it was an important story, not because I'm that important per se, but the story and the things that I lived through and I guess conquered for the most part, I think are things or events and situations in life that maybe possibly could be inspiring to other people and people could maybe learn from some of my experiences.
Yeah, that's right. All sorts of experiences indeed, especially being 3+ years cancer free, right?
Yes, that's a big one. I'm very, very grateful for that. That was a curveball and hurdle in life that was completely unexpected, but the last 5 years of my life were full of curveballs and hurdles that were completely unexpected. So
I'm guessing the balls were extra curvy, huh?
extra curvy, fast pitch with a big curve. Yes.
There we go. Bigger than a grading curve with an entire class of failing students. So, my goodness, No More Dodging Bullets is the name of the most popular book that you have right now. So, why No More Dodging Bullets? Like, were you in service and that wasn't part of the book or something that you didn't tell too many people about? Like, why No More Dodging Bullets?
So it's a metaphor about life and how we can dodge things that could become, bullets can be lethal and sometimes they're not. And the title actually came from a very pivotal part of my story in the book where that actual phrase of dodging bullets was said to me. So I don't want to go into too much about that, but that's what spurred the title. And it is definitely, like I said, a big metaphor for my life and things that were happening and my desire to make different choices and live life in a different way and go down a different path so that I wouldn't be putting myself in front of bullets anymore. So,
There you go. That's right. All sorts of magical bullets. Well, I guess lethal bullets in this case.
yes. Yes, a lot of bullets. I've dodged a lot of bullets, and I'm really really grateful to have done so. But it also, I got to a certain point in life where I realized that some bullets just metaphorically happen, and we, have to decide and make decisions how we're going to circumvent them. And then others, we kind of put ourselves in front of bullets sometimes, or at least I had. So that's where the no more dodging bullets comes into play. That some lessons that I had to learn the really hard way, and that I finally realized that I could live a different life, a more positive life, a more fulfilling life, that was good for not just me but my community as well. And then I wouldn't have to be so concerned with dodging bullets. I just wouldn't hopefully put myself in front of them anymore. So
There you go. There you go, indeed. And it sounds like you're able to conquer something that a lot of folks have to deal with is getting in our own way multiple times.
that's a very good way to put it. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness. So, cancer survivor and also survivor, I believe, addicted to heroin at one point, too, right?
Yes, yes. When I was much younger, in my late teens, and I found myself in a not good situation. I was going through a lot of stuff personally. My parents were divorcing. I didn't handle it well. And I found myself in the midst of a pretty abusive and negative relationship with someone that to this day we refer to in my life and the people who are close to me as the bad news boyfriend. And it was just a perfect storm. Yeah, it was a perfect storm situation where I was at that age where I think a lot of times kids are experimenting and trying things that they maybe shouldn't. And then I was losing the stability of my family and not handling that well. And here was this person who was more than willing to take me down the trail to the dark side, so to speak. And yeah, and so I found myself going from a recreational drug user to, I don't know if really recreation and drugs, that's kind of an oxymoron. But anyway, found myself from being a recreational drug user to a full on heroin addiction. And so, yeah, that was big bullet number one in my life, that I was really lucky and fortunate to make it through that. And that's a death sentence for a lot of people. So I was really fortunate. And really, the whole reason that I even talk about that in my book, the crux of my story is this huge negative situation and life changing, life altering situation that my family and I went through the last 5 years. But as I was writing my story and going through how mentally how I got to where I was today, I realized how much, even 20 years later, the poor decisions and the drug addiction and these bullets metaphorically that I had in my life 20, 25 years ago impacted so many decisions I made later. And how um, I think we all can look at our lives and realize that one decision we make leads to another and leads to another. And if we don't ever deal with the negativity in our lives, we sometimes don't get to a positive place. And it took me a long time to get there, but I finally did. So, but I'm
There
a
you
work in
go.
progress, like we all are. We're all a work in progress. And we should remember that and give ourselves and each other grace.
Yeah, that's right. We're all whips. That's right. Works in progress. That's right.
I like that.
Yes, indeed. I guess in your case, the cool whip, right?
Yeah, I don't know. My teenage kids would say no.
Oh, that's the perfect time to drop corniness on them.
That's right. No, they're good kids, and we're close. But I'm their mom, so it's
There you go. That's right. Pull out the belt if you have to need to, right? That's right. Depending on the
yeah,
situation.
yeah.
But yep, so true indeed, because we're all works in progress. So what's probably kept you focused all of these years overcoming that addiction?
The addiction from years ago, the heroin addiction. Well,
Yeah.
I think back then I just was at a point in life where I had a really, even though my parents are divorced, I had this strong family that was willing to help me pick up the pieces when that part of my life was able to end and stop. The bad news boyfriend got arrested. So that was a blessing for sure. And then I think I had a desire to live sort of more of a normal, whatever normal is, but more of a normal life, and kind of play catch up and do what my friends were doing, the friends I had before I went down that dark side. And so the problem though was I never really dealt with all the negativity that had surrounded me and why I went down that path. I mean, I knew I didn't want to do heroin anymore, but I carried a lot of shame and a lot of guilt with me for years about engaging in this really, immoral and negative behavior. And so as I got older and I had my family and my kids and stuff, I continued to engage in different behaviors. It wasn't drug addiction behavior, but it was other behaviors that weren't healthy, because I thought that I could, make a lot of money and have, an elite status, or what I perceived as an elite status in society. And that would make up for all these shortcomings I felt from my past. And I wasn't even conscious about doing it at the time. I mean, so this need for feeling valued for monetary reasons and status and community really caused me to make some really poor and irresponsible business decisions that led to making a lot of money, but they weren't like the right thing to do necessarily.
Yep. Yep. It's kind of interesting how we're all sold a bill of goods in life. We all have to buy into them and then like really take the
Uh-huh.
receipt when we buy them and give them back to people like, hey, you guys lied here. It's like, hey, go to college, get this degree, you'll be successful, and get a white picket fence. And then if you become an entrepreneur and you build it, and they will come, and all this other nonsense where it's like, hey, there's still the smart hard work aspect where it's you got to work hard and smart at the same time. You can't really get some true fulfillment without doing both.
Yeah, I think the white picket fence is a great analogy. I spent most of my 20s and early 30s thinking that's what I was supposed to have. And I spent most of that time also thinking, like I said earlier, that money and status would somehow define me. And it wouldn't matter even where I went to college or didn't go to college, because my college road was kind of a bumpy, curvy one because of the drug addiction. I finally finished college, but it wasn't like this traditional path. And then I got married on my first marriage and had my kids, and found myself in this very, what I thought was like traditional world that I felt like I just didn't fit in, because instead of just owning my past and saying, hey, I did this, but I overcame it, and that's a really awesome thing, I was ashamed and filled with, regret and guilt, and thought I could make up for all of that by putting value in things that are not intrinsic. And I think shame and guilt are such important things to be talked about that we don't talk about enough, because they'll destroy you, and they're not really bad. I mean, they feel negative, but we all have it for some reason or another. And if we could just talk about it more and embrace those things in ourselves and in each other, and recognize we're all fallible and we all make mistakes, then just think how much like more positive the world would be. But instead, we beat ourselves up for our shame. We ridicule other people for their shame, and it's just this ongoing cycle of negativity.
Yeah, you can say that again. Yes, indeed. Because there's a lot of cycles of negativity going on out there in the outside world, and got to protect yourself from those influences. So, what's been helping you to really stay focused past that and overcome that needing to have that sense of exterior fulfillment? The whole white picket fence thing. It's like, because it sounds like you got a form of that, and then something else happened where you realize, like, hey, this isn't really what I wanted here.
Right. I was threatened with losing all of it. I mean, absolutely everything. Every penny we owned, every asset we owned, our freedom forever. That these business practices that I engaged in, that I was talking about a few minutes ago, that led to making a whole lot of money, also led to some legal accusations. It turned out that the majority of our actions weren't illegal. Actually, what we committed in regards to a crime was a misdemeanor, a federal misdemeanor, but we were charged with all kinds of things, looking at life in prison. And so, sometimes I think we have to get sort of stripped of everything to realize what really matters and values in life. And that was a really important lesson for me. And it was a really hard lesson. And it was the stress and the anxiety and everything that goes along with spending 5 years of really looking at, everything you own is being seized. You don't have access to things. You're having to fight this huge legal battle, and you're potentially facing life in prison. That I would hope that would make someone stop and reevaluate everything. I mean, it certainly did me. And it was a horrible thing to go through. And I also had to, while going through it, realize that even though what we had done wasn't illegal, or it wasn't completely illegal as they accused us of, it was still something like I wasn't proud of. And so there was a certain point that I just realized that I had to tap in to faith and something bigger and greater than myself. And I think we all need to do that at times. Like, we're just really like a speck in this whole universe, and we're all kind of in this together, and everything we do affects someone else. And being cognizant of that and thinking of it that way, and just taking a step back and looking at, like, do I want to be defined by what I have, or do I want to be defined by what I do and how I live my life?
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It definitely got to redefine our lives for the better, indeed. Because if I'm not mistaken, it was the family business, right?
Yes, it was our family business. We own a chain of retail stores, and we sold a product that was being sold. I mean, I say everywhere. I mean, not like but I mean, gas stations, convenience stores, online, and I don't say that in a way of like, oh, well, everyone was doing it, so it was okay. But it was just like we really didn't think that it was something illegal. And what turned out to ultimately be illegal about it is it wasn't labeled correctly. But yeah, I mean, it was in hindsight a greedy, selfish business decision, not necessarily completely illegal. But like I said, as my whole life was unraveling around me, I at some point made the decision to say, okay, well, what can I learn from all of this? Like, this is happening, and I wish it wasn't, but maybe there's a way I can use all this to lead a better life. Because obviously my priorities were a little out of whack, and I was not being the best version of myself, and therefore not bringing the most positivity I could into the world.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yep. So honesty always pays, and avoid greed whenever possible, at all possible.
Yeah, I mean, greed can be addicting, and I think we often think addiction is a substance or food, but behaviors are addicting. And I had found myself really just going from a drug addiction to negative behaviors that were just as addicting, and they'll destroy you. And I wish that, I mean, well, I can't say I wish I didn't have to go through everything I went through. I wish that other people, our employees were affected, customers were affected. A lot of people were negatively affected by our actions, but I'm grateful that I had the ability to take that experience. And, I guess the easiest way to say it is I like myself a whole lot more now than I did 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. So,
There you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Because that's definitely one of those keys to fulfillment is liking yourself. That's right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So speaking of liking yourself, I'm pretty sure you've been on so much of a podcast, interview, rodeo, train spreading the good word of Amy is awesome. Is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
oh, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that. I don't know. I honestly haven't thought about that. A question I wished I was asked more often. No, I mean, I have done a lot of podcasts, and I'm really grateful to be able to get my story out there. And it's not just really about me getting my story out there, but it's about just being able to connect with people. I think our greatest teachers in life are each other, and I think we learn the most by collaborating. And I mean, like, collaborating by sharing ideas and thoughts. And I'm like a seeker of knowledge and information. I welcome differing opinions and thoughts, because I think it's a great way to learn. So yeah, I've been really fortunate to have a lot of different questions asked by different people, and to be able to get my story out there, and hopefully help someone, but also hopefully just connect with someone, and therefore it helps me as well. So yeah, I'm grateful anytime anyone wants to hear more about what I went through and how like that might affect them, or how we can talk about that together and both learn something new.
Sweet. So, since someone's a seeker of knowledge, what's probably been the biggest idea that helped you to make a positive change in your life so far?
For me, the biggest idea, I don't know if it's really an idea, but a concept or a word that might be really familiar to a lot of people, but it wasn't necessarily to me, is grace. And I mean, I knew the word grace. We say grace before we eat, we go to church and we say grace. I mean, it's this, but I didn't really understand like actually what grace meant, like to give grace and to have grace and to be able to give myself grace and therefore give it to other people. It's kind of like you can't truly love someone else if you don't love yourself. Well, I think grace is all part of that. And learning to forgive myself for my shortcomings and wrongdoings, um, and like truly being able to do that made me be a lot more open to other people and made me a lot less judgmental, because we judge what we don't understand or what we fear or don't like in ourselves. And so if you're not in a good place with yourself, you can't be really in a good place with other people. And so, through all this experience, I've become a lot more giving and open and nurturing. I run a nonprofit now that helps the homeless in our community. And I mean, that's a whole nother story, but it's just been a really life changing experience for me to be able to be open and accepting of everyone, and to know that we all make mistakes, and my mistakes may be bigger or smaller than someone else's, but we're all human and we're all just kind of trying to figure this out. And the best way we can really do that is by being loving and kind to one another.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right. So, a nonprofit help out some homeless folks. So, mind sharing it with the rest of the world in case someone may want to donate who may be listening?
Yeah, no, I love that. It's called Hopeful Tuesdays, like the day of the week with an S at the end. Hopefultuesdays.org is our website. The name is called that because it started, I bought a gentleman a cheeseburger on the corner of the street near our office one day, and we started visiting. And we have a bathroom with a shower in our office, and so I suggested that he come by the next day and take a shower. And that was a huge deal because a lot of places they can get food, but a shower is a whole different thing. And so he came, and then he came the next day, which was a Tuesday, and I said, why don't you bring some friends? And it started out as just a handful of people every Tuesday, and now we've renovated an entire portion of our warehouse with a huge room, and it's every day, every weekday, and we serve 35 people a day, and they take showers, and we do their laundry, and we serve them lunch, and we have fellowship, and it's just really crazy because I didn't set out to start a nonprofit by any means. I really just started interacting with some of our homeless neighbors in our neighborhood, and I guess God sort of put it before me, and it just kept growing to the point that we needed to make it an official nonprofit. And we give out clothing and hygiene supplies, and it's just like one of the greatest joys of my life.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. I'm assuming it's an evangelism opportunity too, right?
Well, I don't, we take turns saying the prayer before we eat. And because a lot of the attendees want to say the prayer, which is wonderful. And the other day someone was saying a prayer and said as part of the prayer, thank you for this ministry. And I just chuckled to myself, because if someone, I don't consider myself a minister, and I've never called what we're doing a ministry, but that's how a lot of the lunch attendees see it. And if someone, and I told them this afterwards, I said, guys, don't ever give up like where you are in life. Don't ever think anything's not possible, because if someone would have told me 5 years ago that I would be part of something that people call a ministry, I would have laughed. And it's not because like I never doubted the existence of God or my faith. I mean, my faith has definitely deepened over the years, but I just never thought that I'd be in this position to share my life experiences in a way that people saw it as ministering, and that I'd have this opportunity to go through something so horrific and life challenging and changing, that I could then help others maybe see that even when you feel like all is lost, it's not, and there maybe is a better way, because I was definitely at a point in life where it appeared like all could be lost.
Sweet. That's right. And there's no lost here. It stays found. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So, and speaking of profit, if you were to go back in time and you woke up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in 2020, with all of your amassed knowledge, experience, and then there was no pandemic, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, I would tell myself, just love yourself, be kind to yourself, and appreciate yourself, because in doing that with yourself, you will be able to give it to others. And that is what we really need to be doing, especially in these crazy times. You said if there was no pandemic, but there's a lot of other negativity and craziness going on in the world right now. And it's so easy to want to blame, one political figure or another. And I'm not gonna going to get into a political, conversation right now, or a stance on that. But what frustrates me about that is that we play the blame game so much. And and I'm not saying it's not warranted at times, but I think what we really need to be doing is focusing on how we treat each other on a daily basis. And the problems in this country are so deep rooted and so long standing, and it breaks my heart to see just so much negativity. And so I would just tell myself and anybody, just, when you are thinking something negative, just try really hard to try and think something positive, because it's contagious. Negativity is contagious and positivity is contagious.
Yes, indeed. Got to spread that positivity around. That's the real pandemic, a pandemic of positivity. That's what we need. That's right.
You're right. That is the real pandemic. I've never heard anyone put it that way, but we talk so much right now about the COVID pandemic, which is, a real problem, but there's a greater pandemic going on in the world, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's a unfortunate lack of kindness and love and humanity.
That's right. That's right indeed. That's right. Can't forget about our fellow man, our fellow humans. That's right.
That's right. And at the end of the day, we're all humans and we're all children of God. We were talking about this the other day at Hopeful Tuesdays, when I said to the group, what do we all have in common? And a lot of people had different answers. And I said, we're all children of God. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm not a woman, I'm not a mother, I'm not a wife. My friends, I call them friends, who come to these lunches, I said, you're not just homeless or an addict or whatever. You're a child of God. And if we could all just remember that, I mean, I feel very strongly about that.
That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about. So for those who want to keep in contact with the amazing Amy herself, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
I have a website, Amy Herrig, also AMYHERRIG.com. It has links to my book. It has information about me, and it also has a blog. I write about a post a week, and it's about current issues. I write a lot about prison reform. That's a big issue to me as well, talking about humanity and how we treat one another. I write about spirituality things, and I'd love to hear from people and hear what they think and share ideas and thoughts and feelings.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Head over to amyherrick.com. Grab a book or 350 of them. Grab a bunch of them. Tell your friends about it. Share with your friends. Heck, even head over and learn more about Hopeful Tuesday. Indeed, help spread the good word about that. Heck, like peanut butter and jelly, even. That's right. Just spread the good word out there about all of Amy's good stuff that she's doing. So, any parting words to the folks still listening, Amy?
I'll say what I say to my kids almost every time they leave the house, and what I say at Hopeful Tuesdays: love God, love each other, and love yourself.
This is your host, Don Brightman. Hope you enjoyed what you just heard. And if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, wherever you're listening to. And subscribe to hear more, because more is coming your way to advance you further than before.